Welcome, everyone. For those of you I have not met yet, I'm Chandrima Chakravarti. I am an associate professor in the Department of English and Cultural Studies at McMaster University, and I'm also the McMaster liaison to the Gandhi Peace Festival. McMaster University recognizes and acknowledges that this conference facility that we've gathered in is located on the traditional territories of the Mississauga and Haudenosaunee nations and within the lands protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. In acknowledging this erased or hazily remembered histories, other ways of knowing and being that is part of our shared history, I want to emphasize that in this conference, we have tried to open up spaces for the sharing of other ways of knowing, different perspectives on education and on the world. But before I speak a little bit about the focus and the structure of the conference, I do want to say a few words about the Gandhi Peace Festival. Just in having conversations with you while taking coffee, a number of you did not know about the festival, so perhaps this is a good moment to say just a couple of things about the festival. The Gandhi Peace Festival started in Hamilton in celebration of India's rich cultural diversity. It was an one-off event, but then it became an annual festival, starting with the 125th anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi's birthday in 1994. It is a free, public festival that is supported by the India-Canada Society of Hamilton and Region, the City of Hamilton, of course, McMaster University, and members of the Indo-Canadian community. It also enjoys support of a large and diverse group of peace and human rights organizations from Hamilton and the surrounding region. The Gandhi Peace Festival works with three main objectives. First, to promote nonviolence, peace, and justice. Second, to provide an avenue for various peace and human rights organizations within the local community to become collectively visible and to offer opportunities for them to dialogue and share resources. And finally, to build on local interest and offer opportunities for engaging the local community in a conversation on peace and human rights issues as they emerge or develop locally and globally. The festival is held every year on the Saturday closest to October 2nd, which, as you know, is Gandhi's birthday, and which is also celebrated as the International Day of Nonviolence. So yesterday we had the festival in City Hall. We had about 300 people gathered there. The festival each year consists of cultural programs by performers from different communities, a keynote by a lecturer who's invited to speak on a theme that is selected for that year's festival. Community service awards are given, and then there is a peace walk around downtown Hamilton, followed by a free vegetarian meal. Each year, the festival selects a theme that addresses an issue that is of national or international concern. For example, the 2016 theme was refugees, and we have Mary Jo Leddy here, who was one of the speakers for the Mahatma Gandhi lecture on nonviolence, and we had, of course, other City Hall events. In 2015, it was climate change. In 2017, this year, the 25th anniversary of the festival, the theme has returned towards a culture of peace, nonviolence, and social justice, which was the theme for the first 16 years of the festival. And this is, of course, the theme of the conference, a conference that has been specially organized to mark the 25th anniversary of the festival, along with a number of other events that have been specially planned for this particular year. So I do want to draw your attention to the other events that are happening. There is a public exhibit of original photos from Gandhi's life, and it is open for public viewing at the Hamilton Public Library, 55 York Boulevard, and it is quite phenomenal. If you have time, I strongly recommend that you stop by. You have images, photos of Gandhi, original photos starting from age 7. I think the first one I saw right up to his death, and you can sort of see his changes in clothing, his diet, literally writing British imperialism and resistance to British colonialism on his body, and you can sort of see that in the images. And this is really a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to do that, because we have those photographs from loan from a German collector, and they're going to go back. So please do, if you have a chance, please do take a look at it. Tomorrow we have the annual Mahatma Gandhi lecture on nonviolence. This is McMaster's endowed lecture held annually and made made possible by public funding, primarily from donors of the Indo-Canadian community. The lecture tomorrow will be delivered by Ms. Shabana Azmi, who is an acclaimed film star and social activist, and I hope to see many of you there. But now finally to the conference, the reason that we are gathered here this morning. Education for Our Times is sponsored by a number of McMaster units, and I'll just going to name them quickly. International Office, Faculty of Humanities, McPherson Institute, President's Office, Office of Community Engagement, Institute of Globalization and the Human Condition, Department of English and Cultural Studies, and Social Science and Humanities Research Council of Canada. So without these support, this conference, of course, would not have been possible. So we are really grateful for that support. Thanks as well to my conference organizing team of two graduate students, Arun Jacob and Shamika Shabnam. I'm sure you've met both of them over email, but today you will get an opportunity to meet them in real life. I also want to thank Gandhi Peace Festival committee members, particularly Dr. Khurshid Ahmed, who's here, Dr. Rama Singh, Dr. Ann Pearson, who have been generously offering advice, and particularly to my past 12 midnight emails for the last few months. But of course, especially Dr. Rama Singh, the founder of the festival, without whose perseverance and insistence and faith in me, this conference would not have seen the light of day. So thank you. The conference could not be possible without the many community organizations, researchers, and creative artists who are listed on this program. And all our collective efforts and hard work would have been in vain if you had not shown up this morning. So thank you. As you can see, to prompt you to attend, we are starting the conference a little bit later rather than 8 o'clock. We thought we'll let you get up and come slowly at 9:30. And so thank you. Although I'm sure that you would have arrived at 8 o'clock to hear Patrick Dean, our president, and to hear the Honorable Bob Ray, but just in case. But let me say how delighted I am that you decided to spend your Sunday in the company of acclaimed public speakers, researchers, dedicated community activists, award-winning creative artists, innovative educators, inspiring youth, and to be introduced to the amazing social justice work that local community organizations and many McMaster students and graduates are involved in. This conference, as you can see from the program and from the emails that I have sent out, is not a traditional scholarly conference. A conference such as this one does not yet fit the available funding models of granting agencies. So securing funds to mount this conference, a community-engaged conference, has been difficult. Because it's a partnership between scholars, activists, community organizations, and organizations and creative artists, trying to keep it free, open, and provide food has been difficult. I'm, however, hopeful that you will be inspired and energized by our plenary speaker, the research panels and roundtables, and the creative artist talks and performance session. We have two creative artist sessions, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. We will begin the conference with a plenary lecture by the Honorable Mr. Ray, and with a closing lecture by Dr. Henry Giroux. In the course of the day, you will get to hear from researchers and creative artists affiliated to universities in India and Canada, who bring to their research, teaching, and artistic practice the diverse perspectives that come from non-traditional educational backgrounds, or an understanding of the experience of those underrepresented in higher education. The focus of the conference is on the role of education and innovative pedagogies in promoting peace and social justice in a global context. We have tried very hard to open up spaces for different ways of knowing and learning, as you will see from how we have organized the concurrent panels. Our desire is to prompt dialogue between scholars, local residents, creative artists, peace activists, and ethnocultural associations, and cultivate a critical approach to community engagement as imperative to our collective life. As we collectively engage in a reflection on how our scholarly, artistic, activist, and pedagogical work helps us to think through our times, I hope it will affirm the value of differing perspectives on the world as we strive to work together towards a culture of peace, nonviolence, and social justice. Thank you for your ongoing participation in this unique city, Community University Collaborative Festival, now in its 25th year, and we hope that you will continue to support the festival in the years to come. Thank you. Thank you. Now it is my great pleasure and honor to introduce and welcome Dr. Patrick Dean to offer his opening remarks. Dr. Dean has been a supporter of the Gandhi Peace Festival throughout his tenure at McMaster University, and we are deeply grateful for his ongoing support. Dr. Dean is the 7th President and Vice Chancellor of McMaster University, a position he has held since 2010. His priorities include promotion of and increased support for research, strengthening connections between the university and the local and global communities we serve, and ensuring a distinctive, personalized, and engaging experience for McMaster students. Dr. Dean is also a professor in my department, the Department of English and Cultural Studies, with his principal research focus being the relationship between cultural production and British politics in the first half of the 20th century. First recipient of the John Charles Polanyi Prize for Literature in 1988, he was awarded the Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal in 2012. Thank you, Dr. Dean, and please help me in welcoming Dr. Dean.
Well, thanks very much, Andrima, and good morning, everybody. It's wonderful to be here. I want to add my voice to Chandrima's and welcome everybody who's come from very far abroad or even from some distance from our campus to join us today. It's a really important occasion, 25th anniversary of a remarkable initiative in this community, something to be celebrated. And I want to both thank Chandrima and all the people who've organized the conference, and also Rama and everyone who's been associated with the festival for all these years. This is an amazing example of the vitality and the engagement of this particular community. On occasions like this, thinking about 25 years of collaboration between the community and the university and agencies within this community, I am reminded of a fact that people typically don't know about MAC when they come from far away, and that is that we moved to the city at the invitation of the city. We were located in Toronto, and in the mid-20s, 1920s, the community of Hamilton decided it needed a university and went shopping for one and found us uncomfortably next door to Trinity College in Toronto and offered us the opportunity to relocate, which we did. And we did so thanks to a subscription raised by the citizens of Hamilton. So the first 6 buildings were paid for by those citizens. And since then, this university has had an unusually strong and important relationship with the community in which we do our work. It's not always been as vital and lively and cordial as I'm pleased to say it is now, but it has been strong for all those years. And I think the emergence of the Gandhi Peace Festival, the viability of the Gandhi Peace Festival in this community and this partnership with the university is partly owed to that very significant history of collaboration between the university and the community. It's, to me, a wonderful illustration of the extent to which the university exists and has recognized that it exists for the public good, that it has a function to perform, not only in this immediate community, but in the community more broadly construed at the national and then at the global level. That is our function. There's no other reason for us to exist than to improve the quality of life in our community and on the planet more broadly. And of course, if I think about the ways in which the university does that, discharges that public duty, one of the most obvious ways we do it is through nurturing talent and brilliant young people who can leave the university and go out and become citizens, effective citizens in the city and region, and also in our country and across the world. More recently, the university has been very actively engaged through deliberate community initiatives. I would say in the 7 years I've been here, I've been delighted to see the way in which what was quite informal in the way of collaborations between people in the university and city organizations has become more, to be more formal is not to be better, but in this context, I would say there has been a high level of official support for community engaged initiatives of one sort or another. And my dream, of course, is for these things to be credit bearing for students and credit earning for faculty members and anyone who participates in this critical work of the university to be properly recognized for it. But I think our most important service we perform for the community more broadly is in providing a forum for the discussion of ideas that ultimately need to be discussed and advanced for the greater good. So this takes us to that interesting paradox of universities, right? That we seek to be autonomous institutions in order to be exactly the opposite of autonomous. In other words, to be more effective agents for social change and development. And so historically, the notions of academic freedom and so on have been defended and sustained in the interests of a wide-ranging debate which must have as its goal the deepening of democracy, the strengthening of our ability to engage with new and challenging ideas in a constructive way, and to take those ideas and that dialogue into a better vision for society, one more just and more prosperous for all. I wish I could say that capacity of the university to provide that kind of forum, and this conference is an illustration of what that forum exists to support, is without challenge, but that is not true. At the moment, there are many forces operating on universities that seek to constrain the freedom of debate and discussion. Some of them are in the way of perhaps the most pernicious forces, almost invisible. And here I'm thinking of the drift in our culture towards a kind of a vocational conception of what universities are here to do. That's not to say that we are without interest in the vocations and future employment of our students. We'd be foolish not to be concerned with those things. But the increasing drift of public opinion and often opinion in government towards the notion that the university exists largely to produce quote-unquote job-ready students is powerfully antipathetic to the greater aim of the institution, which is to foster talent, intelligence, and an ability to advance society both in practical terms and conceptually through the education of students and the conduct of research. And that is a challenge that requires ongoing attention. The two other issues that I just want to take note of before I leave you. One, of course, is the emergence of the post-truth society, right? So you remember, was it 2 years ago that post-truth was the word of the year? An extraordinary notion. I still reel when I think of it. But this, we do our work in the university at a difficult time, when the notion of the adducing of empirical evidence and the deducing from that evidence of logical and sound conclusions is not universally recognized or respected. So this brings home, of course, there's a challenge to doing the work we do in that kind of broader milieu, but it also underlines the importance of what the university does by way of combating such a socially corrosive trend. I think these are very dangerous times. In all the years I've been coming to the Gandhi Peace Festival and speaking at it, I remember the first couple of years one could speak optimistically about what had been achieved, and what we could look forward to in the future. I think the last year or two has brought home that what one once thought of as gains that could not be undone have been undone in many cases. And all around the world one sees, an escalation of potential for conflict in the sway of this kind of post-truth view of human geopolitical activity. So there's another threat, I think, to what we do, although it ought to be a goad to us in the university to do our work better, more rigorously, more vigorously, more fiercely, in order to make sure that we remain agents of positive social transformation at home and around the world. But there's a challenge, too, that leads us into, and the whole question now of a relatively unchallenged consensus on freedom of speech and academic freedom is now a much more complex issue on our campuses. There are compelling arguments both for a traditional John Stuart Mill-derived conception of freedom of expression and a different understanding of freedom of expression informed by concern over historical injustices and so on. So that more abstract milieu for debate and discussion has, over the last 5 years, become increasingly more complex and more difficult. And I think maintaining the university as a forum for productive, progressive discussion is going to require very careful attention to all of the things I've been talking about, but in particular to that notion of freedom of expression and academic freedom, what it means and ought to mean in our institutions, and how it should be protected and preserved in the interest of the greater good. But today is an opportunity to take advantage of it, to demonstrate its utility and its fruitfulness. I want to thank everyone for coming, everyone who's had a role in organizing it, and I look forward to hearing the discussions. Thanks very much.
The Gandhi Peace Festival Committee would like to present Dr. Dean with a special festival book in recognition of his and McMaster's continued and ongoing support for the Gandhi Peace Festival. So I'll let the organizers. Whoa. We will deliver it to your office. We won't make you carry it.
Oh, that's amazing.
Chandrima just mentioned that 100 pictures are in the library exhibit. Those 100 pictures are from this book. This book contains 1,200 selected pictures from all Gandhi's life. It weighs 7 kilos. It is produced by Peter Ruhe from Germany. And if yesterday Patrick was at the Peace Festival, we would have done it there. But really, Chandrima mentioned about university community engagement as a token of last 25 years of help from McMaster University, and particularly our personal love, affection for Patrick's integrity. I mean, I really do mean it. Integrity in believing what he does. We are presenting this book, and you know there is a Gandhi's bust sitting in front of his office. So there is a statement there at the opening remark when he made at that bust installation. And now we are adding this momentous book for you. So before I take the picture, I'm going to put on my
Gandhi cap.
Gandhi cap.
Now we have to say Patrick ki jai.
So here is you will help it.
The background would have been wonderful with that poster. Oh, you will go there for the poster.
This is going on the website.
You do that, Chair. Sorry. Between the two of us, we ought to have one good picture.
Okay, I'm going to take a blue, so if you don't mind. Sir, can you please? Thank you. Okay. And I'm going to
Thank
send it to
you.
your way.
And this is 7 kilos, so we will get you an office. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Thanks very much. It's wonderful. Thank you.
And actually, we have put a little label inside. Mahatma Gandhi's Life in Color, presented to Dr. Patrick Dean, President McMaster University, in appreciation of his interest and support of the Mahatma Gandhi Lectures on Nonviolence at McMaster University and the annual Gandhi Peace Festival in Hamilton, signed by Anne and myself.